Would someone like to make a motion to return the regular board meeting to public session, please? Dr. Benader, second. Mr. Mecca, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries unanimously. I would like to call the regular board meeting to order. All board members are present. I would like to ask Mrs. Beeger if you would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be advised that in the event of a fire emergency and an evacuation should be necessary, an alarm will sound. Please note all marked emergency exits and evacuate well away from the building. At this time, we request that everyone please turn their cell phones to mute or turn them off altogether. Appreciate it. Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to add addendums to the personnel consent agenda, add a second executive session, and approve the agenda as amended, please? Mrs. Leatherbarrow, second. Mrs. Beeger, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Marsloff, do we have any recognitions this month?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mr. LeMay. Tonight, we are proud to honor middle school students from Mill and Transit who finished first and second, respectively, in the Western New York Future City competition. Mill Middle's 8th grade team members are repeat champions, having won the contest last year as 7th graders. They will represent Western New York at the national competition in Washington, D.C. next week. In addition to taking second place in the regional contest, the Transit Middle team took home 2 special awards for their project, the Student Choice Award and the Pollution Prevention Award. For this year's competition, students had to imagine, design, and build cities to better accommodate an aging population. I would like to introduce Mill Middle Principal Mike Calandra and Transit Principal Dan Wall, who will tell us more about these impressive achievements and introduce us to some members of their future city teams. Let's begin with Mr. Calandra.
Thank you, Dr. Martzloff. Tonight marks the 3rd time we've been recognized in the past 5 years for accomplishments for our future city teams. I appreciate you providing our team the opportunity to be here tonight for their wonderful accomplishment. I've had the distinct privilege to speak about our future city competition team under the leadership of Mr. Gamero, our gifted and talented teacher. Our team of 8th graders, along with Mr. Gamero and Dr. Reitz, our engineering mentor, competed at the regional level, as Dr. Martzloff mentioned, and we won first place. And again, we earned the right to return to the international competition this coming week in Washington, D.C. Our team is comprised of all 8th graders. 8 of the members of the team, 6 of them have participated in Future City each for the last 3 years, giving up many hours of home bases, lunches, before school, after school, and weekend meetings. Future City is a great example of hands-on project-based learning. This was the first year that our gifted programs at all 4 of our middle schools participated in Future City, and while it's run through the gifted program, Future City is open to all students. This team came in 9th out of 43 international teams last year in Washington. So we're hoping they may repeat or even do even better. Dr. Martzloff mentioned that the theme this year was was difficult in that the adolescents had to understand and plan for the needs of an aging population, and that really something that they really didn't know much about and needing to connect with older adults. We as a school are extremely proud of their accomplishments. The team members are as follows: Grant Bogner, Ethan Cholowinski, Ben Kalea, Ryan King, Owen Klimzak, Caroline Peter, Lorenzo Price, and Taryn Reitz. At this time, I would like to turn it over to 2 of our members who are going to tell you more about the competition, Grant Bogner and Ryan King.
Hello, my name is Ryan King, and I am a member of Mill Middle 8th grade Future City team, along with Grant Bogner, Ethan Cholowinski, Ben Kalia, Owen Klimzak, Caroline Peter, Lorenzo Price, and Taryn Reitz. We would like to thank Dr. Martzloff and the Board of Education for recognizing us tonight. We are also truly grateful for the guidance and support from our gifted, talented programming teacher, Mr. Gamero, and our engineering mentor, Dr. Reitz. This year, we had to create an age-friendly, futuristic city that allowed senior citizens to be active and independent. We challenged ourselves by locating our city, Terra Aurora, in Iceland. We completed an essay, presentation, virtual city, physical model, and project plan. Now Grant Bogner will talk more about the project.
Our team developed solutions to real engineering problems by researching new, emerging technologies and the science behind them. Then we designed innovative transportation, medicine, and infrastructure technologies for our city and presented them to judges at the regional competition. This experience improved our leadership, teamwork, and creative problem-solving abilities. Overall, the skills we learned doing Future City will help us throughout the rest of our careers as students and as working adults. This competition has been such a wonderful and enriching experience that many of us have participated 3 years in a row. Our 3 presenters traveling to Washington, D.C. for the finals will certainly represent our team, Mill Middle School, and the Williamsville School District in the best possible light. Thank you again to Mr. Gamera for providing this opportunity and to the board for your continued support.
Good evening. I'm Dan Wall, the principal of Transit Middle School. Thank you again for the recognition today. We'd like to thank the Board of Education for their continued support. And I'd like the transit team, the following members, to please join me up here at the podium. Emily Goldstein, Kian Colgan, Luke Lustumbo, Allison Lee, Kennedy Intihar, Aditri Kaldikar, Sarah Hicks, and Leah Huang. And I think the best way for you to learn a little bit more about the transit team is to hear from our students directly. So I'm going to turn it over to Luke, Allie, and Kennedy to tell you a little bit more about their experience.
Hello, I am Luke Lustumbo. On behalf of Transit's 8th grade Future City team, I would like to say thank you to the board for recognizing our efforts and achievements. Future City is a very challenging opportunity held at Transit through the Gifted program, and we are very proud to be here this evening. Future City is a middle school competition where students design a futuristic city in a future where engineers have solved all of the world's problems. This year's theme was to create an age-friendly city. We are Transit's 8th grade team, creators of the city Carencia. Future City has many parts with different due dates, and each part is judged based on rubrics. We had to write a research essay and also played SimCity to learn about budgets, keeping citizens happy, and city planning. We built a model city of Carencia to scale and composed of entirely recyclable materials to bring our utopian city to life. Finally, we presented our city to judges who are engineers. We created and performed a skit, decorated posters, until 1 a.m. before our competition, but hey, the judges didn't know that. We also showcased our city for passing judges who asked questions about anything from how we power our city, feed our growing population, meet our citizens' educational and health needs, prevent pollution, or design bridges. Every detail about our city needed to be innovative and exemplify how seniors and the youth could live in harmony. Our model won student choice, our variety of environmentally friendly energy sources and infrastructure stood out for the best pollution prevention plan, and our overall high scores earned us 2nd place. This competition is an incredible opportunity for students like us to learn about teamwork and competition in sciences.
Future City is a tremendous commitment. We learned this especially last year as 7th graders attending the competition. Our previous experience really only served us to push us to do everything we could to make this year even better. To participate in this competition, it is important that you have a strong science and technology background knowledge, a lot of time outside school available to attend meetings, a strong work ethic, passion to learn, ability to cooperate on a team, be organized, and meet deadlines. Leadership is very important to Future City, and we've learned a lot about how you need to delegate tasks and preserve the team dynamic, even with conflicts. Our team is a family, and this is one of the earliest things that we established. We were simply discussing what we felt was most important about our city when we finally came up with the name Carencia, which means a place where one's strength is drawn and the place where you are your most authentic self. We defined our team, the first step to the engineering problem-solving process, and held this meaning close to our heart. Everything fell into place from there, and flaws and all, we wouldn't change a single thing that occurred along our journey.
When you participate in Future City, you really participate in it. Carencia has over 70 hours of work put into it. We met during lunch and after school on Fridays. We met on weekends, building and planning, compromising and researching, brainstorming and creating. We could not have completed this competition without help. We had to have a location as well where we could meet to build the model, write the essays, play some city, brainstorm our city culture, and research the science. We were lucky that Luke's parents, the Stumbos, generally gave us their basement to work in for hours and hours every week. They supported us with snacks, beverages, and emotional support when we needed it. Mr. Lustumbo was our engineer mentor, and he helped us stay focused and think like an engineer or a problem solver. He showed us types of infrastructure we needed to focus on and guided us along the right path of how we can use the engineering process to make an age-friendly city. But most importantly, we also owe everything we've achieved to Mrs. Miranda and gifted programming. Mrs. Miranda is the origination of our Carencia, and none of this would be possible without her constant enthusiasm, encouragement, and support. We owe this program so much for giving us this chance to develop teamwork skills and learn about how we can change the future. Future City is a beautiful way for kids to create their own special Carencia, enriching the next generations upon foundations of improving the world with engineering.
Thank you so much again for this opportunity to share our learning experience with you. Future City has really been a highlight of our time in transit and a valuable memory for the rest of our years to come. Thank you.
That's it.
All right, thank you. Congratulations again. Are there any board acknowledgements this evening? No. Moving on, Mrs. Beeger, would you like to bring us into public expression, please?
Sure. Welcome to all who have come to observe this regular board meeting. Per policy 1510, the board has set aside 30 minutes for public expression, a time when we invite members of the community to share ideas and concerns with us. We welcome this opportunity to hear from you. Each person is given up to 3 minutes in which to address the board. You will be signaled with a yellow flag at 2.5 minutes so that you can conclude your remarks. This is a meeting held in public rather than a public meeting, which means we will not be engaging in dialogue with members of the community this evening. But rest assured, we are listening carefully and we take seriously what you have to say. Please demonstrate respect for us and for one another by speaking to the issues, giving us ideas, sharing opinions, but not engaging in personal attack. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first speaker this evening is Michael Littman.
Hey, thank you for moving me up the order here. My name is Dr. Michael Littman. I live at 142 Autumn View in Williamsville, and I served 9 wonderful years on the Board of Education with many dedicated people who are sitting in front of me, others sitting behind me, and those who are alongside of me. I am here to honor and to thank Mitzi Serafin for her dedication and her numerous hours devoted to the success of our Board of Education and to our district. In the years Mitzi Serafin has been our board clerk, people have changed. Education has changed, technology has changed, fashion has changed, and our board members have changed. Although in education, many things have changed, the expertise, the skills, the knowledge, the capabilities Mitzi has brought to our Board of Education and to our district has never changed. She is a constant and has added to our district's success. She has been a strong leader in Western New York among all board clerks in providing assistance and training to our board and to other clerks, maybe even a superintendent or 2 or 3. She has been a shining star and a gem to work with, and I truly appreciate, as my Board of Education colleagues have, her support and encouragement. Having been a board president twice, I worked closely with Mitzi to make sure our board meetings, the board paperwork, and all the board operations were done correctly. Her supervision of the annual district vote is always commendable. Who can forget her coming outside on sunny days, rainy days, on cloudy days to remind us as board candidates to stay back 100 feet from the polling place entrance as we inch closer to that 98-foot mark at North's Gymnasium, trying to get that one last vote. Even when we were tired during a long day on our feet, Mitzi made sure the Boy Scouts were there to perk us up with their doses of sugar from their candy sale. Now it is our time to replace Mitzi. Of course, the position can be filled, but Mitzi is a person and her expertise can never be replaced. The talents and expertise Mitzi brought to our table cannot ever be replaced. Ezra and I, as well as community and other board members who are behind me, wish her the best in the next stage of her life, which might include more music and dancing, time with her 2 lovely grandchildren, and a variety of other outside interests. So, again, we thank you for your dedication and assistance. Huh?
2 minutes, 30 seconds. Very
Okay, I timed it well. I have one last comment to the board. I've submitted my material to this board for the nomination of one of the vacancies on the BOCES 1 board effective July 1, 2018. I would greatly appreciate the support of my home board, which is the Williamsville board, to keep a board member from Williamsville on this board. A review of my credentials, which you have received and would know, would show that I'm highly qualified and would be an excellent choice to represent our district and all districts on the BOCES board. And I thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker this evening is Kenneth Lee.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Kenneth Lee. I'm a proud resident in the Williamsville School District over 20 years. And I have my daughter. The older one is her 3rd grade in college, and the second one is an 8th grader here. So today we celebrated our success in Future City program. So first of all, I want to thank everyone, thanks the district provided this great gifted program. Without that, we couldn't achieve what I have accomplished here today. And I also want to thank gifted teachers for their effort, for their passion. They put a lot of hard work into this. But over the 20 years, I also want to express the concern I have is I feel like the district gifted programming invested less and less. You know, from my older daughter to my younger one, I see less and less resource to put into the program. For instance, currently the middle school only have one gifted teacher that teaches from 5th grade to 8th grade. There's a lot of student, a lot of work, so there's not enough resource to put into there to, you know, serve our, you know, brightest students. So I'm hoping this success will continue. We don't want to drop this. This is one of the brightest star, I think, is the district, the greatest program. That's the reason I want to leave this, you know, district. I want to continue to live in this district. So really my comment is to don't forget our brightest and greatest. You know, we want to continue to invest in them. You know, we want to put more resource into the gifted program. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And this concludes our public expression, but I'd like to note that this is our first public expression session today. Due to Mr. Meyer's forward thinking about encouraging community members to have a chance to speak on how they're feeling, we will have another public expression session at the end of the meeting today. So thank you.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda and addendum as presented, please? Mrs. Van Cise, second. Dr. McClary, all in favor? Or excuse me, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries unanimously. I would like to thank the following retirees for their service in the district. Jacqueline DeAngelo, from North High School, part-time cleaner for 12 years of service. And Susan Monin from North High School, cook manager for the past 21 years of service. Thank you. I would also like to take a moment and pause, as tonight's marks the final board meeting for our district clerk, Mitzi Serafin. A few former board members are in attendance tonight, and I would like to take a few minutes to open up the podium for them to say anything they would like.
Good evening. Thanks for giving this opportunity, and it is really a joy. My name is Khalid Kazi. I was on the board from year 2000 to 2007 for 7 years, and it was truly my privilege and honor first to serve this district that has taught great education, 3 of my kids, and then to serve Mitzi at her will. I can tell you that from my personal experience, and I'm sure you'll share the same feelings, that she made the board meetings as organized, as professional, and as complete as they can be, because the work that was done prior to the meeting, coming to the meeting, in the formation of the board book, in the formation of making our life as easy, as comfortable as possible, which wasn't always, you know, that easy a job to do, but paying attention to the detail in terms of what needs to be done, what needs to be provided, what reminders need to go out, and the time frames they need to go out in. And when the meetings of the redistricting were going in past midnight to provide the food and the drinks at the right time, I think that was an amazing job that she did. And of course, Dr. Littman just finished saying in terms of what she did for the elections of the school board and the budget, that truly is amazing. It has been my honor and privilege to work with you, Mitzi, and it has been a special joy to call you a friend. Both my wife, Tabassum, and I are privileged to have you known for a long time. And this is time for you to go to the Tim Hortons now. Okay? Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else?
Hello, my name is Dr. Carrie Kahn. I want to thank you. Mitzi, you've been phenomenal. The board minutes that you have, which was the agenda, that the script was actually Mitzi and I sitting down and saying we had to get some order. Then after that, Mitzi was responsible for the policies, and she procured those policies, which were so difficult and so cumbersome, and we were in alignment with BOCES, and you did a phenomenal job with that as well. I cannot tell you from election to election, Michael's right, Dr. Littman's right about the 100 feet law, but she's been great at preparing us for first expense, second expense, and third expense, meticulous in everything that we have to do to follow all the rules of order that we had to do for an election. So I can't thank you enough. Mrs. Spoth, who is the deputy supervisor, has a proclamation for you, so you'll be receiving it this week from the supervisor, Brian Culpa, and the entire Amherst board. Thank you, Mitzi.
You know me, Mrs. Seraphin. I'm Patty Lucido, 43 Prince of Wales. I can't thank you enough, and thank you isn't enough. Thank you for all your endless efforts, your time, and all the details, the attention to details, and the driving to drop off our packets time and time again. Thank you.
Jay Smith, Mitzi, I wouldn't miss this opportunity to at least give you some acknowledgement on a job well done. Serving on the Board of Education was a wonderful experience, but it does come with a lot of travails as well and behind the scenes maneuvering, and Mitzi always kept above board, and how she managed all our personalities is a tribute to herself and the years of service. You were a great asset for us. You were a great person to come to for knowledge and history, and I appreciate your time serving the school district.
All right, stop crying. So I'm such a good speech writer to begin with, but every time I tried to write something that came across as a eulogy, and that's not what this is. This is a celebration. Mitzi, you're wonderful. You're not just a district clerk, you're a friend. You made us all look good. You did a wonderful job for the first year board members. I wish you could have gone through an election cycle, how she was meticulous when she prepared the election. Everything was down to the Q, getting the volunteers, getting the election officers. That was, Mitzi always shined, but that was her really shining moment. And you're really going to be missed for this year for that cycle. And you made me always look good, Mitzi. And it's a hard thing to do. So thank you very much and good luck.
Mohan Devgan from number 1 Birdwalk Lane, Williamsville. Good evening, everybody. I would like to thank Mitzi for so much dedication with which she served the Board of Education. I know she used to come to home to deliver those books on Friday afternoon, and if nobody is home, she will knock on the door, and she will leave the board, And also everything was so planned and in order that, the first year on the board was difficult because I didn't know much, but I think I got a lot of guidance from Mitzi. Once again, thank you very much, Mitzi, for having a dedicated service to the Williamsville School Board. Thank you.
I'm Tony LaFanara. Mitzi, I'd like to thank you. All of us in education know how thankless our jobs can be at times, and the amount of sacrifice our families and we make for the kids of the district. just want to thank you for all those hours you put in, and wish you the best of luck, and enjoy all your time you're going to have to yourself. Thank you.
Excuse me. Last Saturday, there was a statewide New York State Science Olympiad held at Buffalo State College, and there was school districts from Erie County and Niagara County, and we have South High School represented over there, and also the Williamville East and the North. And I was one of the judges as well. I'm so proud to recognize the efforts by the Williamville School District because East High School came first, right? And one of the conditions was that who came first will have to clean up at the end, and therefore they have to clean the hall as well. Therefore, I do recognize the efforts by the school district and the teachers and the leadership being provided by the school district, in Williamville. Thank you very much.
Board members? Jump. Mrs. Leatherbarrow, please.
I'd just like to thank you, Mitzi, for the service you've given to our district for 24 years. It's a very long time, and I've only been here a very short amount of time, but you've always demonstrated all of the things that were just said. Everything is always prepared for us. We have everything that we need, and I wish you the best.
Mr. Naka?
Mitzi, I've been happy to know you for going on 3 years now, and I appreciate the assistance that you've given us as board members, and I hope that you have an excellent retirement.
Dr. McClure?
Mitzi, I'm sorry that I've really not had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with you. I have been able to experience only a little bit of all of your phenomenal expertise and your ability to organize and have things ready for us, and preparing even our other room. Everything's always wonderful, and I hope you know how much you are going to be missed. Thank you.
Mrs. Beer?
Echoing what everyone else said, thank you so much for your organization, for helping me in the role of parliamentarian to make sure that I'm doing everything I need to do and supporting me if I need a little extra help. Thank you for everything. You've been such an asset to our district, and we're grateful for all that you've done. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mrs. Vasquez?
Mitzi, I have known you for over 10 years now. We first met, as you know, when I was running for political office. She was very patient with me because I was a complete novice to the whole election process. I had never ran for office before, but she sensed my trepidation. She took her time, and she assured me that I can do this. She answered all of my questions, but even after that, 10 years ago, I decided not to run that year. But Mitzi, because she's very persistent, kept my phone number and called me 2 years later and said there was another opening on the board. She said, "Tony, you should run." I said, "Okay, Mitzi. Okay, Mitzi, I'll run." I ran and I lost that race, but she said, "Keep your head up." Fast forward a couple years later, there was yet another call from Mitzi. She said, "Tony, there's another opening on the board." She said, "This time, don't worry, it's an uncontested race. There are 3 candidates and 3 available seats." So I said, "Okay, I can do this." So I ran, and I was elected that year. Mitzi has always advocated for this board and for the district. We have not always agreed on everything, but she's been honest with me, and I've been honest with her. and I appreciate that of you, Mitzi. I never appreciated you more than, though, when I was president, because being president of this board is very, very difficult, as all of you who know who serve in that position. And Sean, I'm sure you can attest to it now. When I threw my hat in the race for president that year, I only threw my hat in the race that year after getting an unofficial yet heartfelt and very thoughtful endorsement from Mitzi. She wrote me an email and said, "Tony, you would make a great president." So I threw my hat in, and I was elected that year. But I could not have done it without her. It would have been virtually impossible for me to complete all those tasks without her assistance. I truly appreciate all that you do and all that you did to make things run smoothly, from the district vote, Mitzi, from the community forum setups, from the delivery of our board packets, to the day-to-day operations of all things board related, to the meeting scripts, to the food and beverages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lastly, during this Black History Month, as I was reviewing, as I often do, some of the famous quotes from some of my favorite people, some of my favorite heroes, I came across a quote from the great Harriet Tubman, and it reminded me of you, Mitzi. And I'm not crying. I just have allergies. I'm sorry. But Harriet Tubman said, "I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more, if only they knew that they were slaves." So you see, Mitzi, you encouraged dozens of us, board members and others in the district, but you could have encouraged dozens more had people realized just impactful all of our contributions are. Thank you, Mitzi, for seeing my value and for helping me get through. Thank you so much.
Please.
I have shared many of my sentiments already with Mitzi, and will just say to everyone that Mitzi is definitely an invaluable part of this district. I, as well as everyone, appreciates the immense time and the expertise that you bring to this table. I know when I started, when I was first in the running, you would just take me by the arm and say, "All right, come on over here. Let me show you what's next." And I appreciate that. I appreciated it then, and I certainly appreciate it now. So I just value you. I value your support and everything you've done for this board and for this district. So I wish you on your retirement that it's definitely not an end, but a new beginning and a lifetime filled with much happiness and relaxation and time with your family.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words.
Mr. Meyer.
You know, before I ran for the board, or actually while I was running for the board, Mitzi was there giving me guidance and feeding me all of her institutional knowledge that I certainly did not have. Since getting on the board, she's continued to give me the same guidance. She's also shown a lot of patience. I'm notoriously bad about getting her my liaison reports on time, but she keeps after me and she does it with a smile. I think all these people here and all the kind words that you're hearing tonight is a testament to your professionalism and the lasting impact you've had on this district. So I want to congratulate you on your retirement, and I wish you the best.
Would anyone else like to share any stories or memories? Well, then I'll wrap it up. For more than 24 years now, Mitzi has been a model of excellence. She's been here for 24 board elections that have gone off without a hitch. She's helped 72 board members and countless candidates through all of those elections. And a feat of pure endurance, she has attended over 280 board meetings, not counting special board meetings, work sessions, community forums, and other special engagements that she would also attend. Mitzi has put in more than 1,250 devoted weeks of service to this position. Mitzi has been a crutch for present and past board members and superintendents. She is a wealth of information, a walking encyclopedia of knowledge on nearly all district subject matters. She has made sure that the largest suburban district in Western New York ran like a calm breeze on a warm summer day. While the boards have changed, the people have changed, the superintendents have changed, even the building and grounds have changed. One thing has remained steadfast: the loyal and determined district clerk, Mitzi Serafin. Congratulations and thank you for 24 years of excellent service to this district. On behalf of the board and the superintendent, congratulations. We've probably upset the district clerk. We're running over schedule here. Would you like to say anything?
Before we move along, I know that the district PTSA council president and some of the members of their executive board wanted to say a few words. Mrs. Serafin, if that's okay, I'd like to invite Mr. Schubert up to the podium along with his team.
Good evening. Oh, Mitzi. I'll make it really short. There we are. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ron Schubert. I'm president of Williamsville PTSA Council. With me tonight are Jen Belisai, Susan Jones, treasurer, and Terry Schrow, our recording secretary. I have known Mitzi for over 18 years. I think it's about 18 years, having met her when I was first elected to the school board in 1999. However, tonight, I'm speaking as a representative of PTSA Council who wishes to recognize Mitzi for 24 years of service to the district. Mitzi, as district clerk, makes sure that each of the board members is prepared for each and every meeting, which means countless hours of assembling packets, delivering them to board members at their homes prior to each board meeting. She takes minutes of meetings, makes conference arrangements, retreat arrangements, comes in early and works late, and more important, is a resource for each and every board member whom she treats fairly and with respect. Over the 24 years in the district, Mitzi has worked under five superintendents in good times and bad times. And as I understand it, sometimes when board public expression lasted for more than 4 hours, which was quite something. Mitzi is well known for her incredible efforts in running the district vote each and every May, an event that is always flawless. I haven't asked her, but I assume on that day of the vote she puts in at least 18 or 20 hours of effort without a break. PTSA Council appreciates all the efforts that Mitzi Serafin has made to make Williamsville a better place, and particularly the assistance she has provided the PTSA Council over the years, including reminder notices about deadlines, which sometimes we have a tendency to forget or miss, candidates night, and countless other efforts on our behalf. And personally, as a school board member for close to 18 years, I wish to thank Mitzi for all of her guidance, advice, and constructive criticism that she gave, and sometimes I didn't listen to, and but that was okay. In my eyes, it's hard to imagine Williamsville without Mitzi. PTSA Council wishes to thank you and wishes you happiness in your retirement. We have a little something for you.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of our former board members who came out and attended this evening. I think it really is a true tribute to the work that Mrs. Serafin has done in the Williamsville Central School District for this many folks to come out and honor her years of service to the Williamsville Central School District and the students of our district. So thank you very much for making the effort to do that. I'd also like to thank and recognize her family because all the time she's here at board meetings, I think that sometimes people often forget it's your family that's home waiting on you, wishing that you were home with them and not here at a district meeting. So thank you to them for all of their support. Unfortunately for us, and fortunately for them, you'll get to spend a lot more time with your family now, Mitzi. I do want to read a letter that was given to me by former Board of Education President Ann Rohr, and she wrote it to Mitzi, so I will read it now. Dear Mitzi, I am so sorry that I will not be able to attend your final board meeting, as I will be out of town at that time. First of all, I want to thank you for your professionalism, dedication to the Williamsville Central School District through your work as the board clerk. Mitzi, we have been through a lot together. 4 superintendents and numerous boards and board members. In my 16 years as a board member and 6 years as president, you have always managed to keep me grounded and focused on our mission, the children of the district. We have survived some great boards and some OMG boards, some great meetings and some scared to death meetings, but we survived and plowed ahead for the good of the district. Mitzi, every project and meeting you prepared was organized and professionally run. Every election, although stressful at times, was handled seamlessly. The truth is, we did not always love the results, but they were beyond reproach, and we moved forward. I personally want to thank you for your service to the district and the board. You will be a hard act to follow. You have been a trusted friend and many times a welcomed advisor. I wish you a future of fun with family, especially grandchildren, and the time to enjoy life after retirement. See you at Wegmans. Sincerely, Ann. So Mitzi, I have one more brief message I'd like to share with you, and this is hard for me because you're not just a colleague, you're also a friend, and I respect the way that you have done your job and the way that you have continued to be a professional through some trying times. And certainly it is not easy working at a district office, but certainly it's always a challenge to work with superintendents, with Board of Education members, with Board of Education leadership, whatever the case may be, in a successful manner. And it's really a tribute to your approach that you've been able to do that for so many years. After 24 years of distinguished service to the Williamsville Central School District, tonight is Mitzi Serafin's last Board of Education meeting as our district clerk and records management officer. We certainly owe her a debt of gratitude for her immeasurable investment of time and effort for so many years to make this district the best possible place it can be for all children. Mitzi sure has come a long way since the day when the former Board of Education president, someone named Dr. Barry Weinstein, asked her if she would be interested in a small part-time position at district office. The job quickly expanded to full-time status, and Mrs. Serafin was often running as the person who sets the tone of excellence for other district clerks from across New York State. While I've certainly missed Mitzi's hard work, leadership, and loyalty in our school district, I thought it would be important to summarize what some of the other Williamsville superintendents and board members have said about Mitzi Serafin over the years. For example, former Superintendent Howard Smith in 2011 wrote, "Mrs. Serafin continues to be an excellent and valued employee who has done an outstanding job." Former Board of Education President Bill Freeman wrote, "I have found Mitzi to be one of the most committed, intelligent, caring, and professional people I have had the good fortune of working with in over 30 years in the business world." In 2012, former Williamsville Board of Education President Dr. Michael Littman wrote, "Mitzi is a true professional who has positive relationships with everyone at our school district." Going back to 2008, former Williamsville Central School District Board of Education President Ramona Popowich wrote, "Mitzi is thorough, responsive, and an expert at what she does." Former Williamsville Central School District Superintendent Ann Fuqua in 2002 wrote, "Mrs. Serafin is organized and efficient and always treats the public with the utmost respect." In 2000, the Williamsville Board of Education President Sharon Harris Ewing wrote, "Mrs. Serafin's organization of the many details and people involved in the district vote brought praise from members of the Board of Education and the entire Williamsville community." Going back to 1995, former Williamsville Central School District Board President Ann Rohr wrote, "The quality of Mitzi's work is consistently excellent and thorough." These quotes from so many fine educators in the Western New York area speak to Mitzi's entire career of true excellence. She will be surely missed, and I want to congratulate her on an outstanding career in Williamsville, thank her for her enormously positive work, and wish her a happy, safe, and long retirement. Congratulations, Mitzi. We will miss you.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Please, please, please speak.
I would like to thank everyone at the table for their kind words and everybody who showed up tonight. And although she is in Florida and unable to be here tonight, I would like to thank Ann Rohr, the first president I served, for her patience, guidance, leadership, and friendship. The first thing she said to me was, "I'm the board president, and I think I should have been able to meet the district clerk before she was hired. But we will make it work." And it worked. I would also like to thank some subsequent leaders and collaborators, Mr. Bill Freeman, Dr. Michael Littman, Mrs. Carrie Kahn, and Mr. Ronald Schubert for their dedication and support. I appreciate and commend Dr. Patricia Lucido, her VP, Mr. Michael Schmidt, and their board for their courage and unwavering commitment to do the right thing for this school district and for getting us through some very difficult times. I also commend Mrs. Tony Vasquez for her courage and for following her conscience and acting on facts. Although he never served as an officer, Dr. Khaled Kazi was a role model for all board members. His professional appearance, preparedness, principles, and respectfulness was unparalleled. I would like to thank Dr. Mohan Devgan, Mr. Jay Smith, Mr. Anthony Lafanero for showing their support and being here tonight. I have always worked well with people who were honest with me because they knew I would be honest with them. No matter what our opinions were, we still could be friends. Yes, I took this job thinking it would be part-time and short-lived. I got sucked in by the influence of dedicated, non-paid board members who often disagreed but ultimately did what was best for the children of the Williamsville School District and the taxpayers. I began my adventure with the school district 24 years ago. I was an active Dodge PTA mom with past board presidents Mrs. Ramona Popowitz and Mrs. Linda Vixjo. We all had kids in the same class. Then I became an irate, redistricted parent. After complaining at board forums and meetings, Dr. Barry Weinstein approached me about becoming the district clerk so that I would know firsthand what the board has to consider when making tough decisions. He said I would only have to work about 4 hours a day. I was hired on April Fool's Day and conducted a vote for over 8,000 voters in May. The same time, the state mandated that every school district have a records management officer and a records management program, and I accepted that challenge. My workday suddenly got a whole lot longer. I am grateful for and have great respect for all the wonderful people who know what a pain I can be, but have worked with me over the years and have not only endured my pickiness in doing a job, but getting a job done to my satisfaction. I want to thank Dr. Martzloff for his support, integrity, vision, and especially for his commitment to hold people accountable. I want to thank my husband for walking the floor many board nights and not knowing when I would be home, and making many trips to the parking lot to make sure I hadn't fallen and was laying in the parking lot ground. I would like to thank my husband, my daughter and her husband, and my grandchildren for being here tonight and supporting me. It has been an honor to faithfully discharge my duties by serving and representing the Williamsville School District according to the best of my ability, and I pledge my support to my successor, Mrs. Carey. I look forward to the next chapter in my life. Thank you.
Now, before I really get yelled at, would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on January the 9th of this year? Mrs. Beeger, thank you. Second? Dr. Benader, thank you. Are there any corrections or additions to these minutes? If there are none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Before we move on, in the consent agenda, the board also approved a new assistant principal for Casey Middle School. Coming from South High School, Mr. Ryan Harding. I'd like to invite him to the podium to say a few words. Mr. Harding, congratulations.
Thank you. And I guess I get the last word on Mitzi. Mitzi, I want to thank you for your help as I came in as an assistant principal with records room and you know, having a high standard. I think we've got it in good shape, so I feel confident in that way. Good evening. My name is Ryan Harding. I'm happy to be here tonight and would like to thank the Board of Education and Dr. Martzloff for granting me the opportunity to further my career at Casey Middle. I've been extremely fortunate to be at Williamsville South High School for the last 3 years and to have worked and grown with many good people during that time. I truly appreciate the students and families of South, as well as the professional relationships that I've cultivated over the years. I'd like to thank the teachers and support staff I have had the pleasure of collaborating with, as well as Mr. Jason Swenson for their graciousness and guidance along the way. When the Casey assistant principal position was posted and then reposted, I watched from afar because I already had a great job. When the third posting went up, I decided to apply because the reputation of the building and the work they did spoke to me as an educator. Casey is a place I have admired for some time, and although it was a tremendously difficult decision to even consider leaving South, I felt in fairness to myself, I had to explore the opportunity to join the team at Casey. I taught middle-level learners for 12 years and believe strongly that I had something to offer and that it might be a good fit. Thank you to the building interview team, many of whom are back there, and the leadership interview team, specifically Mr. Dobmeyer, for entrusting me with this tremendous responsibility. I'd also like to thank Keith Boardman for his friendship, vision, and leadership. Mr. Boardman's support throughout this process was critical to me personally, and he reminded me numerous times that I needed to follow my gut, and this was part of my journey. Thank you for everything that you've taught me, Keith. I'll be forever grateful. To the KC faculty and staff, I hope to live up to the standard that you have set to contribute positively to the lives of every person in our community. Again, thank you to everyone who's helped us make this night possible. Appreciate it.
See, Mitzi, we're all out of order without your organization to help us. The 33rd Annual School Client Conference sponsored by Hudson and Ross was held on Friday, January the 12th, 2018 at the Millennium Hotel in Buffalo from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Dr. McClary and I attended. Dr. McClary, would you mind please giving us a brief summary of the event?
Sure, thank you. This was my first opportunity to attend a day-long conference as a board member, and each one of us had an opportunity to attend 4 one-hour sessions. What was very well done about the program was there was a mixture of things going on. Individuals could go to things on student discipline, public communication, collective bargaining, social media, and a number of other topics. And each one was very well run, and I feel I learned a great deal from my chance of going there, and I appreciate the opportunity to go, and I can share any other information with anyone else who's interested. Thank you.
Thank you. A dessert forum was held on Thursday, February the 8th at 6:30 p.m. at Erie 1 Bosse's. Mrs. Leatherborough attended, and would you please give us a report on that?
Sure, thank you. On February 8th, I attended the dessert forum at Erie 1 Bosse's for the Erie County Association of School Board Members. This event featured several tables where you went from table to table every 15 minutes, kind of like speed dating, only it was speed boarding. And some of the topics included boundaries for board members, dealing with community interactions, accessing accurate information, confidentiality issues, and setting, monitoring, and revising policy. So it was a very productive and beneficial evening.
Thank you for that. The 2018 Capitol Conference was held February the 11th and 12th of this year in Albany. Unfortunately, no one from the board here was able to attend that. Does anyone have anything else to report from the New York State School Board Association? No? Okay. The next scheduled board visitation is scheduled for Monday, March the 5th, 2018 at Casey Middle School at 8 a.m. Right now I show Dr. McClary, Mrs. Van Sice, and myself all planning on attending. Is anybody else available to join us that morning? A few people quickly looking. Mrs. Beeger?
Yes.
Great. I'll put you down. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, great. Thank you. The East High School visitation, originally scheduled on Friday, January the 5th, has been rescheduled for now Friday, March 23rd. It will now be at 7:50 a.m. Who will be able to attend on this visitation? I know originally I had Dr. McClary, Mr. Meyer, Mrs. Vasquez, and myself.
And that one as well, Sean.
Okay, Mrs. Beeger I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Lim.
Is it March 23rd?
It is March the 23rd, Friday, March 23rd, 7:50 a.m. So it's a change in time as well.
I've changed into a maybe.
You've changed into a maybe? Okay. No, nobody has confirmed yes on this one, so.
I have unfortunately changed to a no. I'm going to be out of town.
Okay.
Maybe.
Mrs. Van Sice is a maybe, okay. Mayor Vasquez, I'm sorry. This is the second time tonight I've done that. My brain's on mush. Anyone else?
Maybe.
Maybe. Thank you, Dr. Grenader.
This is a very nice visit, by the way. I mean, not that the others are not.
I'm not sure if the agenda is going to be the same. Mrs. Serafin, do you know, or Dr. Martzloff, are they going to still do their college, it's not a college fair, it's their,
They normally would do the career day.
the career day, yes, thank you.
January, and they're not rescheduling the career day.
That is
so
not, okay.
it'd be more of a standard board visit to East High School.
Okay. All right, now I have 2 yeses, Mrs. Beeger and myself, and 3 maybes. Dr. Venator, Dr. McClary, and Mrs. Vasquez. Anybody else? Okay, if anything changes, please email myself and the district clerk, please. The next board retreat will be Saturday, March the 3rd of this year in the district office boardroom here. Dr. Vincent Coppola and Mr. Robert Chrisman will facilitate the retreat. A continental breakfast will be served starting at 8:30 in the morning. Last time I checked, everybody was going to be in attendance. Has anything changed? Is everybody still going to be there? Great. I will see you all at 8:30 in the morning. A board community forum was held on Wednesday, January the 31st at 7 p.m. in the North High School cafeteria. Mrs. Leatherbarrow, would you please give us a summary of that evening for us?
Sure, this was our first community forum that we held on a weeknight, so we were interested in seeing what the turnout would be, and with it being in the winter, you never know how the weather is going to be, but we did have a decent turnout that night. I want to thank Mrs. Serafin for having the room set up for us by the custodial staff, and here are the topics I recorded. We had conversations regarding class rank, we had conversations regarding special education and servicing our students. There was some discussion about lockdown safety and program policy continuing among the different buildings. And then there was some discussion about brain injuries in relation to our athletic program. And finally, there were 2 more. Another topic that came up was time spent on buses to and from school in the morning, and Chromebook usage in the middle school versus high school, and looking at our future vision for technology usage. So thank you to everybody who came out and contributed to those conversations, and hope to see everybody at our next one.
Great, thank you. I wanted to take a quick moment and point out to the community that we do have an informative program for parents about teen substance abuse coming up on Tuesday, March the 6th from 6:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. This will be taking place at the Williamsville South High School. Jessica Hutchings, a licensed master social worker and the director of Kids Escaping Drugs face-to-face program, will talk about the signs, symptoms, and current trends of substance abuse, including opioids. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve to adopt the procedure and timeline for the election of the school board members as presented? Mrs. Van Cise, second. Mrs. Beeger, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Mrs. Serafin, would you like to update us on the board candidate packets, please?
Board packets are now available to potential candidates and to people who are able to read and write, qualified voters of the Williamsville School District, a citizen of the United States, 18 years of age, a resident of the school district at least 1 year prior to the election, not an employee of the Williamsville School District, and you may not hold another incompatible public office. You cannot be a family member of another board member, and you may not have been removed from a school district office in the district within 1 year. And partial packets will be available online. Since I won't be available to interview people requesting a packet, I wanted to answer their 2 number 1 questions. No, there is no pay involved. Board members do not receive any pay. And second question they asked me is, will the incumbents be seeking re-election? And so that would be up to the incumbents, who are Mrs. Vasquez, Mr. LeMay, and Mr. Mecca, if they would like to state their intentions tonight.
Well, I was waiting for Mitzi to tell me if I'm going to run again. She's told me every other time before. No, I haven't decided.
Mecca?
I'm undecided at the moment.
I did prepare a statement that I'll read here. 3 years ago, I entered a campaign against 6 other candidates to ask the community to elect me as a trustee for the Board of Education. I ran because I believed that there was a lack of direction. I believed at the time that we were focusing on educating students to meet only state demands, focusing heavily on math and English to help improve Williamsville's test scores, not educating the whole child. As a parent, I had worked with other parents in our district to ask the district to help send a message to Albany that our schools were not broke, that excessive testing was not the answer, and that the Common Core curriculum was a failure. At the time, the message to the board told the community as these were state mandates and basically wrote off the changes. The board appeared to have communication problems not only with the community, but with the district as well. Teachers, administrators, staff, as well as the community were accusing the board of not being honest and trustworthy with the community. From an outsider's point of view, the district had placed itself on a pillar way above the community. The community asked for change and elected me with an overwhelming turnout in that election. Since then, I have worked hard to make a difference. I have listened closely to what the community, staff, and students have asked for. The board has worked hard on improving communication with the community, teachers, administrators, and staff. We implemented 3 community forums each year. These forums serve a way for all constituents to have open two-way dialogue with the board and superintendent on any topic, both positive or negative. We reinstated board visits to schools, allowing the opportunity for board members to talk with teachers and staff in their home turf. We abolished Policy 1340, which many teachers and staff and administrators had pointed out as prohibiting open communication with board members. Lastly, we've added a second public expression, thanks to Mr. Meyer, at the end of the board meetings for citizens to comment on any matters brought up at the meeting. All these measures were taken to promote more open, honest, and transparent board with the community. Over the past 3 years, we've teamed up with the district and sent several messages to Albany pushing back the excessive state testing or the troubles with the Common Core curriculum, as well as the concerns over the unfair evaluation system placed on teachers and administrators. We will continue to press for changes to the testing regime, including the number and the kind of tests taken and when and how parents can opt their children out. We listened to the community and put in safer fill into our turf fields, put up more efficient, highly focusable lights so that our neighbors would not be blinded. We worked with those same neighbors to come up with a set of rules to be fair to them as well as the athletic teams wanting to play under the lights. We also worked with our community and brought back recess in all of our elementary schools, as studies have shown how important it is that our students have that stress-free time in their day. I believe I've had a successful 3 years in office as a trustee, a vice president, and currently as the president of the board. But I don't feel that my job is done yet. I believe there's more to be done. We've got to work on our culture internally. We've become a district of saying no too easily because it's always been a certain way. We need to change and become a district that looks at every situation and says, let's see how we can make it happen. While the state has started making changes to the curriculum and state testing, there is still more room to grow. The state continues to underfund local schools and threatens the ability for districts to make decisions in their own best interest. Furthermore, while there is a moratorium for teachers and administrators using unfair test scores in their evaluations, there's still no permanent change. We need to continue to pressure Albany on being fair, and not only our children, but to our teachers and administrators as well. Special education is another focus area for me. While one of the best districts in the state, and certainly the top in Western New York, we must still do better. Parents have made us aware of shortfalls in our programs, and other parents in the past have been too scared to communicate with us. We can do better for them and for the future of all students who need more assistance. We need to continue to protect student data in this day of hacks and malware, but also protect our students from the excessive use of technology. Our district has made great strides in making sure that technology is used to enhance the educational process while not becoming about the technology itself. As much as fiscally responsible budgets will allow, I will continue to advocate for smaller class sizes, as well as advocating for foreign language to be offered earlier in our elementary schools. I can't be everything to everyone, but I hope my past 3 years have shown that I do my best and I put my heart into my duties. I continue to strive for what I believe is best for our children and community. I will listen and research all concerns brought to my attention. And with that, I formally do announce my candidacy for rerunning for election in 2018. Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve the issue an RFP for legal services in which the board will be making the determination as to who will represent the district? Dr. Venator, thank you. A second? Mr. Mecca, is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. We can have up to 4 board members serving on the Legal Review Committee. Please be sure that if you're going to volunteer for this, that you have the time to commit to this. As per the notice in your packet, this committee will be meeting several times a month during the April and May time period. With that in mind, who would like to volunteer to serve on this committee? Mrs. Leatherbarrow, I've got you. Thank you. Who else? Dr. McClary, thank you. Anyone else? I would like to volunteer, so that'll make 3. We have room for 1 more if there's anybody else. If not, would someone like to make a motion to resolve to appoint Mrs. Leatherbarrow, Dr. McClary, and myself, Mr. LeMay, to serve as the Board Legal Review Committee? Mr. Mecca, thank you. Second. Dr. Venator, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. 2 board members shall be elected to serve on the Board of Cooperative Education Services, First Supervisory District of the Erie County, at the meeting designed by the BOCES Board President to be held on April the 17th, 2018, to be held in each of the component districts. Incumbents are Mrs. Judith Katz of Williamsville and Mr. Edward Cavans from Sweet Home. Mrs. Katz has indicated that she is not seeking re-election. Only 1 board member can serve from the same school district. The deadlines for nominations are March 16th of 2018. We will be discussing this further at the March 13th, 2018 regular board meeting agenda for a board action at that time. Dr. Motzlaff, would you please give us your community update?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. LeMay. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all the members of our community. We had 14 parents and community members who took part in our recent evening community forum. It was a great opportunity to hear from our community members and to discuss certain challenges and items that we're facing together as a district. I also want to thank all of those parents that responded to 2 recent surveys. One is on the future priorities for our school district, and the other one focused on class rank and whether or not that should be considered for elimination for current 10th and 11th grade students. Thank you for their input on that, and later in the agenda we will discuss some of those results. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve to adopt the revised 2017-2018 student calendar as presented in your packet? Beeger. Mrs. Beeger, thank you. A second? Mrs. Van Cise, thank you. Any discussion? Mrs. Leatherbarrow, please.
I just had a question actually regarding the future. I understand that the changes in this calendar were due to the contract negotiations with the WTA. I'm wondering for the elementary schools when the district is thinking of having the conference, the parent conference, would it still be in the fall only, or if it would be in the spring, or if that's still undecided?
Sure. By contract, it would only be in the fall, in November,
okay.
Where we'd have half days for parent-teacher conferences. While there are no longer half days in the calendar for elementary school conferences in each March, there is still the opportunity, every opportunity for parents to meet with their child or children's teachers. All the parent has to do is call up his or her child's teacher and request an appointment and do so at a mutually convenient time. The only difference is we're not setting aside specific time in the calendar through the use of half days each and every March going forward.
Dr. Martzloff, just to follow up on that, if a parent wanted to have a conference with their child's teacher during the school day, could that be arranged possibly?
Yes, it could. It depends on when a teacher's particular planning time might be during the school day where they're free to meet with a parent at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Would someone like to make a motion for the first reading of the revisions to the following policies? Policy 5660, School Food Service Program, Lunch and Breakfast. Policy 5710, Transportation. Policy 5741, Drug and Alcohol Testing for School Bus Drivers and Other Safety-Sensitive Employees. Policy 7222, Diploma or Credential Options for Students with Disabilities. Policy 7320, Alcohol, Tobacco, Drugs, and Other Substances. Policy 7550, Dignity for All Students. And finally, Policy 8470, Home Instruction and Home Schooling. Mrs. Beeger, thank you. Second. Dr. McClary, thank you. Is there any discussion? Yes, Ms. Van Cise.
Just a comment. Excuse me. I would just like to say thank you. There was a lot of work I noticed this time in regards to these policies being updated and revised due to state requirements and regulations, but also to some of the board requests. So I would just like to say thank you for the revisions with the policies. I know a lot goes into it, and it's very much appreciated.
Yep. Any other board members? I did want to bring up policy 7320, alcohol, tobacco, drugs, and other substances. While this seems kind of trivial, and believe it or not, it actually, to a certain extent, sounds a little absurd. The changes to this policy specifically are discussing and I'll highlight the wording here, the unauthorized use and misuse of prescription and over-the-counter drugs, including vitamins, supplements, herbs, and other similar substance is also prohibited. While I think I understand the gist behind and the merit behind this policy change, I think we have to be cautious and possibly rethink including the word vitamins here. I know my own daughter brings vitamin C to high school when she's starting to feel like she's getting under the weather. This policy, that would make that in violation of this policy. As well as, I think if we dove into this a little finer, we'd also start to realize that the vending machines in our schools that are vitamin water based also fall under this policy as unauthorized use and misuse, which is kind of the wording that this policy has regarding vitamins. So I wanted to kind of caution the board on this. I don't know if we can reword this. I don't know if we can strike this. I understand this comes from BOCES, who's looking at legal advice and stuff like that as well. This kind of seems a little crazy to me that we're outlawing vitamins at this point. So I open this to further discussion. Mrs. Leatherborough, please.
Am I hearing you correctly? Your objection is to the vitamins, correct?
Ironically, yes.
Okay, so
Vitamins.
my understanding is that this came from BOCES. However, the board does have the authority to take or modify the recommendations.
The board always has the option to take and modify. Yep.
Yes. Are you intending to just modify this motion by removing the word vitamins?
That's a very good question. I could, yes, take, and I think supplements, herbs, and other similar substances could be sufficient.
Okay, might we possibly direct this back to the superintendent for discussion with his team, since this is only a first reading?
I'm nodding my head, yes. We can leave this open for discussion to other board members, and if they agree, we can ask the assistant superintendents and superintendent to take a look at it. Mrs. Beeger?
Between now and the second reading, perhaps we can look into why BOCES chose to add vitamins. That can help us understand whether or not we would like this wording in the policy or not.
Dr. Who do we got? Dr. McClary?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The toss-up.
Okay. The way I see it, it says the unauthorized use or misuse of prescription over-counter drugs, vitamins, etc. I would like to see it left in there because its emphasis is then on misuse. If you use your example of your daughter having the vitamin C, I don't believe that's a misuse of it. But individuals in many ways, many times, many places can misuse a lot of things, prescription, non-prescription, and everything else. So I'm in favor of leaving it in.
To respond to that, I did think exactly along those lines as well, and carefully looked at the word of unauthorized use, but what then do we define as authorized use? Realize also current policy prohibits us to bring in over-the-counter medications. And typically, and Dr. Marsoff, please correct me if I'm wrong here, my understanding is that the child has to provide a note and do that, and I think it's from their physician, if I'm not mistaken, but at the very least, their parent, and then that over-the-counter medicine has to be left in the nurse's office, does it not?
That's generally how it works, yes.
Yeah, so now we're going to say that we need to have a note from mom and dad to allow for vitamin C to be left in the nurse's office to be administered? It just seems like a stretch to me.
I wouldn't see a vitamin or, I wouldn't see a vitamin as having that same need for a note from a physician for a child to take a vitamin. I think one of the goals here, if I may speak on this particular proposed policy, is if we take a prescription pill and an over-the-counter pill and a vitamin and put it in front of you, tell me which one's the illegal substance. You can't always tell. And so it's critically important to give our administrators the ability, number one, to confiscate those items, to investigate the situation, what happened, where did you get these 3 things from, who gave them to you, what are they, and be able to investigate and get to the bottom of something that took place, rather than, oh, you have this, you're obviously misusing it, so therefore you're going to have this disciplinary consequence. It really doesn't work like that in the schools for the students, or it shouldn't work like that. So I think it's important to have that distinction as part of that conversation.
Dr. Bernay?
I just want to build on some of the comments from the other board members. I think it would be helpful to just look at the intent of the BOCES language and the reasoning behind it, just to understand a bit more. And then, as you folks know, I will beat this drum. I'm all for reducing alcohol, tobacco, and drug use in the schools, so I'm happy to see this included.
We have spoken with folks from BOCES about this particular policy and what the intention was, and they stated the following: to assist districts with disciplinary action related to possession of drug-like products, we slightly revised this policy so that the unauthorized use or misuse of vitamins, supplements, herbs, and similar substances is covered. Absent a specific mention of these substances in a policy or a code of conduct, districts run the risk of being unable to discipline students for using or misusing them. So that was from the legal policy team at Erie One BOCES that provided that.
Do we have a policy that specifically talks about what I mentioned before about a parent or physician note for over-the-counter medicine, or has it just been?
That's probably covered in a regulation that relates to a certain policy.
Okay. So that's not something that derived from this, or has kind of been a hybrid of this statement here?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. I still caution it, but I understand it. I think it's poorly worded, and I worry that 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, we're suddenly going to come back to this and say, oh, you have vitamin C, that's illegal. And that's really, I know that seems really ridiculous, but we've seen it happen. You know, we get certain professionals that look at things and look at it as black and white and not gray. So, Mr. Mecca?
So then, just hypothetically, at the present time, Dr. Martzloff, if a student was found in possession of vitamin C that they did not turn over to the nurse, and they were taking it at their locker, and somebody had a concern, what would happen from that point?
Really, there wouldn't be anything, because it's not covered in the policy. The policy is not saying that you can't misuse vitamins.
Okay.
So.
Yes.
The problem is that we are experiencing an opioid epidemic right now. And like Dr. Marsloff said, so many of these medications look so similar that it's hard to differentiate from the average person. It's hard for the average person to differentiate what is a vitamin or what is an opiate. And not to mention that just because herbal supplements are advertised as being very healthy and organic, and people are all about living healthier lifestyle, having a healthier lifestyle, we have to be cognizant, and our resident doctor could probably talk better to this point, but we have to be cognizant that all of those supplements are not healthy. So students taking these substances, I am a big proponent of getting parental authorization through a doctor's prescription or note saying that it's okay for them to even take supplements, even vitamin C, because you can, and it sounds like, oh, it's a vitamin C, or it's vitamin D, or it's vitamin B, but you can overdose your systems, and our dialysis units are filled with people who have done that inadvertently. Mm-hmm. They've killed their own kidneys based on taking supplements, or, going to the herbal stores and prescribing themselves these types of medications over the counter that are not really advantageous for their health. So I think that BOCES is probably taking all that into consideration, and that's why this policy is in effect. I support it as is, and it does say unauthorized use or misuse, so it would just be that your daughter would have to, as the way I see it, get a note from her doctor or from her parents, however we designate that, to say that she's able to take this, and you should be careful in all parents of what our students are taking.
Should that be spelled out in the policy?
Perhaps.
My last comment, I guess, is just, I like it because it also protects. So we're not just looking at the person that has it on them, but what if it gets into somebody else's hands? And we're talking even if it's a simplistic vitamin. There's also things that kids we know tend to sell. I mean, you want to eliminate and remove all possibilities, especially if it's about the safety of the students and protection of them.
Thank you. Any other opinions? I appreciate that. Thank you for all your viewpoints on that. Would someone like to make a motion to table this motion for a second reading and adoption at our March 13th, 2018 regular board meeting?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, is there another comment? Yes, Dr. McClure.
Is your motion going to be to just table 7320?
Nope, tabling all of the policies.
All the
above.
policies?
Yep. So, is there anybody that would like to make that motion? Mr. Mecca, thank you. Second. Mrs. Beeger, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Martzloff, would you like to start us on a discussion about the class rank, please?
Sure. As the Board of Education knows, in September of 2017, the Board of Education voted to eliminate class rank for all students who are currently in 9th grade and younger. As a result of that change, there was a number of discussions that took place at PTA meetings around the district, as well as a survey that was done and presented to the board at a previous board meeting from over 400 students, asking that the board consider removing class rank for current 10th and 11th graders as well. We've completed a survey with 10th and 11th grade parents and students. The results should be in your packet. We have a number of comments that we provided to the board from folks all over the district that relate to this particular issue. And at this time, I'll turn it over to the board to have a discussion of what the board's thoughts are on the potential for making another alteration to class rank for 10th and 11th graders.
I'll open it up for discussion. Mrs. Van Cise, please.
So I did go through and looked at the various comments, which I thought were very helpful, as well as the pie charts that we received. And this is a very sensitive issue to many because a lot have their own personal views. And so I had to read the comments, and I kind of made my own notes, and really my synopsis ended up being that the people that seem to express that they are against eliminating any earlier is really because their child, it's more of an internal issue is how I viewed it, where their child has been taking AP classes and they should be rewarded for that work. Whereas the people that really seem to be for it is due to competition was mentioned, that it's unhealthy, stressful, the anxiety. Many are missing out, we read. Their own children have been missing out on scholarships because they fall in the 21st, top 21, or, the 21st percentile instead of the 20th. That many of these colleges and universities and even other states are currently not even entertaining class rank. And many feel that students will ultimately still be challenged and will still be highly performing because they're self-motivated and because Williamsville is a school district that offers all of these ample opportunities to still academically and social emotionally grow. So really based on those comments, I felt that the research that we've seen has basically proved this, which is it is a hindrance to many of our students. It's preventing them from getting into college for college admission and even receiving scholarships, and really bringing back that mindful learning. So I thought it was very interesting to actually read many people's comments, both for and against, but overwhelmingly I thought that there were many that really are very passionate about having it eliminated sooner.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Beeger?
I thought it was interesting that the parent survey and the student survey were pretty consistent in their results. I kind of thought there would be a just varying level of support, but they really seem to be consistent. I have my own thoughts and views on class rank as we voted eliminating with the incoming freshman class. I think the argument that you mentioned, Mrs. Van Cise, about denying students opportunities based on rank is a strong reason to eliminate. However, I think it's important to note that there were a number of parents that came to the community forum because they felt very strongly in support of class rank. They had students that were juniors that they felt their coursework and their choices really had been catered to class rank, and that was very important to them. So I think it's important to highlight that they came out on a Wednesday evening for that reason, to show support that they felt class rank should stay for their juniors at least.
Thank you. Other board members? Mrs. Leatherbarrow?
I appreciate this survey. I think my only regret is that we didn't do this survey at the beginning of our discussion. I think this information would have been important to the decision, and perhaps would not have belabored this decision as long as it has. I'm comfortable with the decision that we made back a few months ago to have it begin with the freshman class. Even though I see the majority would like it to have it switched earlier, I think that out of respect to students and families who made course selections based on what was important to them, that has to be respected. And different philosophies of education, which is really what this comes down to, is your philosophy of what education means to you. Those different philosophies have to be respected as well. So I appreciate everybody that participated in this. My question is actually, how will this survey and the results be accessible to families? We've heard from people come to the community forum saying surveys are done, but we don't get to see the results. So I would like somehow to know that this will be available for families to see, not only the pie charts, but I think the comments as well. I think the comments sometimes are more important and give more information. So that is my question as to how this survey will be available.
Don't have the answer to that. Dr. Marslav, could you comment, please?
Sure. If the board wants, we can make the survey results available to our public via our website and or WITS. Certainly, we take out the identifying information for the people that made individual comments, but certainly all the qualitative data and the percentages, the pie charts for parents and students could be readily available electronically for our public.
I think that would be great. That doesn't need to be a formal motion, correct?
No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Quick clarifying question, if I can.
Yes, Mr. Meyer.
First off, I'm in favor of disclosing it and sharing the information with everyone. But with respect to the comments, was any representation made in the survey that responses were confidential or anything to that effect?
No.
Okay.
It should be noted, and I'm assuming that we will do this, that we'll make sure somebody reads every single comment, because there's a lot of comments.
There is a lot of comments.
And make sure there's no personal information or anything like that.
Sure.
My student Sean, that sort of stuff. Other board member comments?
I would,
Dr. McClary, yes, please.
I would just like to request that whatever we're going to do, that we do this by the next meeting. If we're going to make a decision to add 10th and 11th grade, we're at a time in the year where I think personally we're almost beyond it, but if it were still going to happen, it really has to happen soon, or dismiss the discussion, one or the other.
Well, at this point, there is no action item scheduled for any future date, so a member of the board here would probably have to make a motion to have it added as an action item for the next board meeting. I know the board right now is, I don't know exactly how, but I know we're fairly split. So I have no idea if there'd be votes to make a motion pass or not, but somebody could make a motion certainly, and we can look to add it for the next board meeting as an action item if requested.
No, that's all I'm saying, is that if people feel strongly enough that they still would like to perhaps change it for 10th and 11th, that it happened by March. If we as a board feel that we've discussed it and had a chance to hear the different sides, that we are almost finished with the discussion.
I understand that, yep. Other board members' feedback? Mrs. Van Cise, please.
So can I please make a motion to add it to the next agenda item, or the next agenda in March for an action item?
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Mrs. Vasquez? So, all in favor to add this to discussion only as an action item? It would be an action item to vote on next month.
Can we have a discussion?
Discussion, yes, please.
Okay.
Mr. Mecca, thank you for the reminder.
Sure, thank you. So just to clarify, because I think I heard something that Sean said that didn't really match up well with the motion. I thought if a motion were put on the table now, it would likely be to have class rank eliminated for the current 10th and 11th grade students, or sorry, the current 10th and 11th grade students. Is that the intention, Ms. Van Cise?
Yes, but what I would actually like to see is a motion for elimination of 10th grade and then a motion for elimination of 11th grade.
I agree.
Two separate motions?
Yes.
Okay. Is there enough board support? Do I need to call a formal vote? Why don't I? Let's just say all in favor for 10th grade elimination being on the action item for next month. All in favor?
How is that vote in order?
I was going to, let me rephrase that. So the motions would be for us to vote next month for eliminating class rank, and Mrs. Van Cise, please correct me if I get this wrong. The motion would be to eliminate class rank, starting with the existing 10th grade, effective this 2017 fall,
And you're asking us to vote on that right
The
now?
vote to, no, I'm asking to
Asking
vote.
whether we
and
want to
vote
put that on.
Is there enough support to put this on for a vote formally next month
As an action item.
as an action item?
Okay, I understand what you're doing. I guess I'll speak my own mind personally. My view hasn't changed, but I'm not going to be the person to stop someone from bringing something to the table. So I'll support someone's desire to see a vote, but my vote hasn't changed.
Any other discussion? Mr. Mecca, please.
If I may ask, Ms. Van Cise, is your objective to get this to pass or to put it to rest?
You're asking for her vote, I guess.
You kind of are.
Motion to have an action item added to the agenda next month for the elimination of 10th grade, and then another motion for the elimination of 11th grade. Because we asked for a survey, we had a community forum, we asked Dr. Martzloff to bring it for the Tri-High. All of these things, student voice, parent voice, the district has followed through with everything. We now have the survey results. We're having a discussion. I believe the next thing to finalize and move forward would be having an action item at the next meeting.
Any other questions or comments so far before I bring this back up again? Dr. Venator.
Sure. As you may recall, I was a bit vociferous in my opinion about class rank. I want to thank everyone for performing additional due diligence through the survey as well as through community forums, because I do think it's important to obtain as much community input as we can. I think it's fair to say I still remain a bit in turmoil in my own mind on this, having worked very hard to make the top 10 at East way back in the day, and recognizing that much of what we do when we think about professional development of our students as they leave high school and move into the collegiate world and beyond into the working world is based on evaluation. That being said, and speaking with my 10th grader at East High School, and obviously listening to the community, I recognize that this is something in which there are a lot of merits for folks wanting to abolish the rank. And so I find myself perhaps not as fixed in my original position today.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mrs. Leatherborough.
It's more of a question, sort of me thinking out loud, so I apologize. Are we causing people to become upset if we don't know whether we have the support one way or the other on the board? I almost think it's best to just let it be. Like, we've made a decision as a board. We've done the survey, we've gotten the input. We keep bringing it up. I have the same turmoil that you just described so well, much better than I'm describing myself, because personally I would like to see it eliminated for everybody. But I have to fall back on respecting that the reason why I send my children to school and what I want for them might be different than why another parent might send their children to school and what they want for their children. So I have to respect that, and I have to respect that to the individuals who have made class rank their priority. That's important to them, even though it may not be important to me. And so I just don't want to belabor something and stir something up if perhaps it doesn't pass to begin with. So I just trying to get a gauge as to where we're at. Does that make any sense?
It does.
Okay.
I'll comment in a minute, Mr. Mecca.
Thank you, Mrs. Leatherborough, for putting my thoughts into words. I kind of feel very similarly in that it's an item that we voted on. Let's move forward, and I think it's kind of what Dr. McCleary was talking about coming to some conclusion on this issue. And I guess, my questions to Ms. Van Cise, wasn't tongue-in-cheek or anything. I'm a little in disbelief that we're going to take action on this at this point, especially when the results are not overwhelming. I see that 2/3, roughly, of people are in support of making that change, but that still leaves 1/3 of students and parents who may have been working toward a certain goal that they put out for themselves, and I don't think of making a change in that direction is advisable at this point, but that's just my own opinion.
So I guess I would just like to follow up with, that's why I'm asking for a motion. So first of all, we even have to approve the motion to even bring it as an action item. And then it would be a vote. I believe there needs to be some closure. We decided after we made that, and I spoke pretty loud at that time, that I was not for elimination of the 9th grade. It went through because I was in favor of elimination. I brought it back up due to parents and students coming forward and speaking loudly. That's why we asked the district to take on a survey. I have to be honest with you, I would not feel right, and I would not feel that I was doing my due diligence, that we asked the students for their input. We went and did a parent survey. We took all this information, and now as a board, we're just going to drop it and say, thanks, but we really weren't going to take that into consideration. I don't feel comfortable with that. That's why I would like to see it as a motion for an action item, for follow through and total justification of where we can then say, okay, we have now made this decision and there's closure, we can move on. It's just my own.
I would echo Mrs. Van Cise's comments. We've done additional due diligence. That is a buzzword of mine. It's something I'm always looking forward to, and something that we ask the community to share their opinions with us. And we did receive them both through the survey as well as through other community forums. And clearly there is energy around this. 2/3, 1/3. How do we look at that? Overall benefit of the students. That I think we need to weigh, because there's certainly pros and cons potentially on each side. But I will echo the fact that I do think some type of closure is needed out of fairness for the additional due diligence that we did.
Other comments, Mr. Meyer?
Yeah, well, I'll say a handful of things. First, obviously, I'm in favor of the elimination of class rank, or I wouldn't have voted for it in the first place. I like the approach that we took of phasing it in, starting with the freshmen, because I do find a lot of validity to the argument that from folks who have been in school longer, sophomores, juniors, that they've made academic decisions based on what they knew the system to be prior to us eliminating it. However, I also would echo some of the concerns that are brought up tonight about forcing a vote. We did a lot of legwork. We solicited comments. Those comments deserve to be heard. And if someone on this board wants a vote on it, they should get their vote. That's my personal view, so I'll support the motion.
Do realize if the point of making this an action item is to put closure to it, to vote it down next month, hypothetically, you could vote it down tonight, which would also send the same message. So I just want to make that clear. Not that I'm trying to tell you to vote one way or the other, but do realize, I'm asking specifically for this motion because this is a controversial thing. Normally we don't ask for a motion to put an action item onto an agenda like this. But we promised the community, one, that we would not take action on it this evening. We would not vote to overturn our previous decision. On that note, too, realize, as Mrs. Vasquez pointed out to me in July, the board very rarely ever overturns a decision that it's made. And this now will be the potential of the second decision in the same academic year that we're going to be looking at overturning. I'm with a lot of my colleagues here on the board in the same thought process of that this is upsetting to a lot of the community, especially those that thought that this issue was behind us, that we had put this behind us, the decision had been made, and the board was going to move forward, and the district was going to move forward based on the rules that we've already put in place, the policies that we've already put in place. To steal from Dr. Venator last month, we're changing the rules midterm of the game here, and that's not fair. It's not fair to our sophomores, it's not fair to our juniors. If you recall last month, I so well put my foot in my mouth and bit it off when I said, listen, you know, we've got to look at closely the top 10% and listen to them. Ironically, the survey results come back here, and we're seeing 35 to 38%, and that's both students and parents who were surveyed separately, all saying, we want the decision left. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. And I have to say that we have to listen to their voices. I don't want to say we want to put more weight behind them, but we have to listen to them more clearly because they're the ones directly being affected by this. That top 50, that top 75. I mean, our average classes that are graduating are 300 to 400 students each one of our high schools. So that's more than 100 students potentially that are saying, listen, we want this left alone. Don't touch this. And that's a very large chunk of kids. So I'll put this up again in a minute. We'll vote on if we want to add this as an action item next month, but feel free to say no. And that would put an end to this dispute. It would put an end to this debate. I don't think, at least in my opinion, I don't think that we're shutting down anybody option to vote. I think we're just saying we're sticking by our current decision and staying with it.
So why did we have the survey?
What do you mean, why do we have a survey?
Why did we offer a survey if we weren't going to take these things into consideration?
That's an excellent point, and what I echoed earlier is we did do this additional due diligence. We did it to be thoughtful and purposeful. This is a major decision, I think, affecting our students. I think the deliberation, while perhaps painful for folks out in the community at times, listening to this may seem like we're waffling. I actually think we're doing our appropriate due diligence in a thoughtful and productive manner. I think when we phased it in, our decision was not to change the rules of the game. And to us, I think as a board that made sense, and I think to many that makes sense. However, a good board is going to listen to the community and listen to feedback. This is the first time we've ever done something like this. And certainly there is a large population of individuals that are finding it detrimental potentially to the health, well-being, and perceived educational development of 10th and 11th graders. And so to your point, my understanding was we did this to learn more, to be good stewards for the community, to listen to the community members, so that can help us inform the decision. And I'll be honest with you again, I think I was quite vociferous standing in perhaps the opposite end of the corner on not to abolish class rank, and I find myself in a much different opinion now looking at the feedback that's coming in from the community, and I think that's what was the goal of this extra research.
Mr. Mecca? Oh, sorry, Mrs. Beeger?
Yeah, to follow up on that, I think that if we are to bring this to a vote next month, that it's not necessarily overturning our decision. I think our decision will stay that the incoming freshman class, that they will not have class rank. The reason we've had this discussion in this survey is because of the noise that has continued in the community, students coming to the podium with over 400 signatures. I don't think it's necessarily taking back what we did. I think we're just reacting to community input. And I'm also in turmoil a little bit on the decision. I felt very strongly about the decision we made initially, and I am proud of that. But this survey is mixed, and it's something to think on, and I think that it's important that we listen to our community. So I understand the want to see a vote as a result of the work we've done here and also the feedback we've gotten from the community over the past few months on this issue.
Can I just add one thing? It's just a question.
Yes, Mrs.
Only because I do have two children in high school, and I recall seeing a WITS mail that they chose their courses already, and I was to review them, and which I admit I haven't done that yet. So that message pops up every time, even though they've told me verbally what they're taking. When is the final cutoff for them to alter their schedule for next year? I know it's sometime in March. We know that?
In early March, we do our staffing procedures. However, students can always change their schedules between then and the start of the school. If a student decides to drop a specific course, maybe they feel like the weighted average doesn't help their class rank anymore, or whatever the case may be, they can certainly do that between March and September.
Okay, that's helpful to me because that means that our decision wouldn't impact them changing their schedule.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mecca.
Comment and then a question for Mr. LeMay. I'll start with the question from Mr. LeMay. I'm not sure which item you were referencing when you say we changed our opinion on previously another academic issue. And I'd like to hear more about that after my comment, if you don't mind, just refreshing my memory. Data can be interpreted in various ways, and to those that say, why did we do this survey if we're going to, essentially the implication is that we're ignoring the results. I would say that the conclusion I'm drawing from the survey is different from the conclusion that someone else is drawing from the survey. If 35 to 38% of students and families are not in favor of making this change, that could very easily represent the students that are at the upper end of the class rankings, and they don't want to see it eliminated. And I think that's a very important consideration. Dr. Venator, if the class size was the same as when you attended, which I don't know if it is or isn't, landing in the top 10 would put you in the top 1% of your class. So I don't know what results would convince me that this would be a good change or not at this point in time, but to me, 35 to 38% not in favor of the change means that that's a component that we're listening to. So I think the survey is advisory, not prompting mandatory action. So I plan to vote against putting this on for a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mecca. I do agree with your assessment there. That's how I read the survey. I actually was surprised when I saw 35 to almost 40%. I was expecting a smaller number. And when I saw that much, I thought that was a very substantial amount of people coming to the defense of keeping it as is. So
I think I remembered the other issue, so you don't have to rehash that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Venator?
No, I would just echo, you can interpret data in many ways, and Mark, I think that's an excellent point. And I think for us, as part of this due diligence, now that we have this additional information, is exactly what you put out there. We need to look at those percentages and decide if that is enough to stick with the original decision and not change the rules of the game once the game started, or at least for me, it was helpful to see what the universe is thinking, and I also thought it was interesting to see that the parental response and the student response is somewhat similar. So having additional data is always a good thing.
Thank you. Dr. Martzloff, we haven't heard from yourself or your staff and what your thought process is on this. Would you please, would you mind sharing with us?
Well, I'm not a Board of Education member, but I play one on TV. Essentially, we have looked at this issue for probably a decade. It's been studied, we've surveyed parents and teachers and students, and now we've re-looked at it for 10th and 11th grade students. I personally don't see the harm in holding a vote at the next meeting and voting it up or down. You might be a 0 to 9 vote that we're not going to extend it to 10th graders or extend getting rid of class rank to 11th graders. And that to me is fine, but that's part of your role as a board member, quite frankly, is to take a look at an issue. You've analyzed it quite thoroughly, very nicely, have great, robust discussion at the table, and then it's time to vote on it. And if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. At least then the community hears from the board with one voice and doesn't wonder, I wonder what that board member thought, or I wonder what that board member thought. It takes away that guesswork, and I think that's an important piece to the discussion. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank you. Any other Mr. Mecca?
Can we pin you down to a specific recommendation, Dr. Martzloff? Not on just whether or not we should take the vote, but on, well, I guess that's for a different day. That's not the issue we're discussing, right?
Correct.
Sorry about that.
Next month, I'll happy to weigh in on it.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
I'm going to take a vote. I'm going to say one last thing here. I do worry that we're, by voting to put this on, to vote on again next month, that we are bringing up agita, that we're giving heartburn to people, that thinking that this issue was already put behind them. Yeah. So I'm cautioning you on that sense. I do respect 100% the democracy, the democratic process, and allowing us all to vote and all that. But I think this is an issue that needs to, I think we've revisited it, and I think, in my opinion, I think we're done. And I'm with some of my other colleagues here that I think the decision we made was the right decision. And even with the current evidence and the new survey results and all of that, I think we've got our answers here. But without any other comments, because I think we've beat this one over the head, I'm going to open this up again for a motion to add on to, as an action item next month, the elimination of class rank in the 10th grade effective fall of 2017. So that would be this past fall. I need somebody to please approve the motion. Mrs. Van Cise, a second. Mrs. Vasquez, we've already had the discussion, and all in favor. Put your hands up high on this one, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. Opposed? And no abstentions. So motion carries 6-3-0. Same subject, the putting on to the agenda for next month. This time will be for the current juniors, the 11th grade. Again, this would be effective 2017. Do I have a motion? Mrs. Van Cise, thank you. Second? Mrs. Vasquez. Any further discussion? Thank you. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed? Abstentions? There are none. So again, motion carries 6-3-0. So again, for those listening in and understanding, all this is doing is putting this on for an action item vote for next month on both issues as separate subject matters, separate votes. One for the existing sophomore class, one for the existing junior class. Thank you. I look forward to more debate on this next month. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve to approve the property tax settlements as presented? Dr. McClary, thank you. Is there a second? Mrs. Beeker, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. If you have any liaison or conference reports, please pass them to Mrs. Serafin. Please send your reports within 2 days of a meeting if at all possible. Does anyone need coverage for any upcoming meetings? Nope. Okay. Are there any legislative matters that anyone wants to discuss? Nope. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve to approve the update to the Continuing Teacher and Leader Education, or the CTLE, approved provider list as presented in your packet? Mrs. Van Cise, thank you. Second? Dr. McClary, thank you. Any discussion? Mrs. Beeger, please.
I just want to make a comment, and I've made this comment before, just how impressive this list is. And this is something really that I think is very unique to Williamsville, though I'm not certain what this list looks like for all school districts. But the fact that we have such an incredible list of approved providers to continue teacher and leader education in our district really speaks to the support that our teachers have, and ultimately how that in turn affects and impacts the learning that our students have in school. So this is really great work, and it's nice that this is consistently looked at and updated, and there's many additions which can only benefit our students. So thank you for your work in this.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. There are no personnel matters to discuss this month. Dr. Marsloff, would you like to give us a facilities improvement and presentation plan update, please?
Sure. Our work on the 2015 voter-approved facilities improvement project continues and is being planned for further work for this coming summer. In addition, Mr. Matursky and I plan to update the board on our next improvement project focusing on music and the arts, and we plan to do that most likely at the March or the April meeting to update the board and give some more specifics about what we see being important as part of that project.
Great. Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Marsloff. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve to approve the participation in the pilot program of unified basketball as presented? Mrs. Van Cise, thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Mecca, thank you. Any discussion? Yes, please, Ms. Van Cise.
I would just like to say I'm so excited to see this program be approved and now going to be part of this district. I come from a district that they already have this program going, and it is absolutely outstanding. And both students with disabilities as well as the general ed students, they both just prosper so much. And they both just grow, and it's so amazing to see a true partnership with them. It's an incredible thing, so I think it's awesome that Williamsville is doing this.
Any other comments?
I just want to say thank you and recognize Dr. Siri's hard work in planning for this, along with Dr. Balin, as well as Mr. Mujica, our instructional specialist for health, physical education, and athletics, who worked tirelessly to get this done. So thank you for their work and bringing it to fruition.
I too have to agree. I was going to comment and say the same thing. When I read what this program was, I was overwhelmed with excitement. I can't wait to see this take off, and I hope it's a hugely successful program, and hopefully can then be brought into other areas and stuff like that too. So thank you very much for the work and put together on this. Any other comments on this? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Does anyone have a request does anyone have a request or matter to discuss under the committee of the whole this evening? Mrs. Leatherbarrow.
I just have one. I received a suggestion from a parent that said that she likes to be able to hear what happens at the board meetings, but it's difficult for her to find the time to just sit and watch a meeting. So she suggested, is there a way to just podcast a meeting? And I thought, like, what do you mean? And she explained it to me, and basically, to be able to download the meeting so that you could just listen to it in tidbits as you're driving in the car or what have you. And I thought that was an interesting request. And I do see how it aligns with one of our board goals of community engagement. So I'd like to bring that to the board for your consideration to see if there's enough support to direct the superintendent to explore the cost and feasibility of offering this service to our community.
Okay, before the board comments, I do want to make just a quick comment since I'm a technology guru. Our board meetings are posted on YouTube as well as on the district website. YouTube does have an option to be able to take a board meeting and take it offline to the extent where even, I believe in iTunes for the iPhone users and stuff like that, you can select it and have it pull it in as an audio-only file. So by definition of what a podcast is, which has become synonymous with, similar to Kleenex has become tissue. Podcast is the ability to take an audio or a video file offline and be able to listen to it at any time or any location. That ability is currently available using YouTube. So I just wanted to make that as a point. I don't know to what extent the cost would be to actually convert this into other formats or what those other formats would be, et cetera, et cetera. So keep that in mind as you're thinking this through. Other discussion on this? Questions about this? Is there enough interest on this to ask the district to the superintendent to look into this further?
Quick question. I know you, if requested, you would look at the cost. Do either of you have a ballpark figure already off the top of your head of saying if we did podcasts, they would cost $1.98 or $5,000. And I think because, as you've explained, there are abilities available for everyone to perhaps do this technologically.
Correct. There are abilities to do it already without the district investing any time and resource. To publish it in, say, a podcast directory, a little above what I've had to ever price out before. So I honestly couldn't even begin to fathom. I don't know if there's licensing costs to get it posted, because I know there are some, not some, there's a very large amount of podcasts that are available in public directories that, for instance, Apple promotes. I'm assuming there are fees for those people to get those into those directories. So, but I know a number of people that have podcasts that just publish them on Twitter and stuff like that, and people can go grab them and download them on their own. So, Mr. Mecca?
Couldn't we just have it saved as an MP3 file on the district website and people could download it that way?
That's very similar to what the YouTube is. The YouTube has an option where you can save the audio, I believe.
I'm looking at it now, just trying to play around with it, and it's not obvious to me how to do that. I'm not signed in, though, too, so that could be the issue. But it would seem to me to be really simple to just convert it to WAV, MP3, whatever. Maybe we want like lossless audio so people could hear everything very clearly. We could use FLAC files or something. But
Mr. Mecca, you just went over 90% of the people at this board table.
I did that for your benefit. Just so you know that I know. But I think that it'd be easy enough to just put it up there as an audio file. People could right-click it and save it on their computer, right-click it, save it on iCloud or whatever, and listen to it on the go.
Mrs. Beeger?
I agree. I think one of our goals is to try to make sure that our community can access what we do here. If YouTube doesn't work, not everyone is technologically advanced, and if there's something our district can do to do that converting or have it available both video and then click here for audio, I'm absolutely in favor of our district looking into doing that. And I don't know if that's even in need of a formal vote. Is that something we can just look into just to make it more accessible?
A majority of the board members here that are in agreement. I see a number of heads nodding, and I see more than 5 nodding yes. So we can ask the superintendent if he could at some point in the future, please let us know what the cost to do something like that would be, please, and how feasible it would be.
There's a very good chance it would be free. I mean, if it's on YouTube, you do have to have the transcription available for everyone to be able to access it. And to my knowledge, that's an available feature on YouTube that it comes up. And so therefore, we should be able to do that and not really have a problem going forward, as long as people, I guess you have to choose that option on YouTube when you're listening to the podcast.
Could be. I watch video podcasts. I'm not an audio podcast person, so sorry. I agree, though. My gut tells me we're talking labor, and maybe some minor costs if there's anything. But yes, to Mrs. Beeger's suggestion, they could just post the audio file on the district website and be done with it. Convert it, I'm sure,
but you can't do that. It's because you don't have website accessibility for people with disabilities if you just do that. You have to be able to have the transcription piece, words on the bottom.
Right.
And without that, then you are not providing opportune access to all individuals.
Okay.
Can I get clarity on that? Because if it's it's offered in video format, which I just learned something new. Thank you, Dr. Martzloff, that it actually does show you the words if you hit CC for closed caption. So if it's offered in that format on the website, which is readable, and then it's offered in an audio format, which inherently is not readable, we're good? Or are you saying we're not good?
Well, if it's available in audio format without the CC part, that's what the issue is.
But it's available alternatively in a video format where someone could read the words.
Correct.
So what's the problem? I don't get it.
I don't have a problem.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. No problem if you do that then, from what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Right or no? No.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
How about we let the superintendent get back to us in a month on that, with any legal loopholes that we have to make sure that we cross the i's or cross the t's and dot the i's here. So.
Can I ask a follow-up on this? Yep. How does this get transcribed? Is this our work, or does YouTube do it?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer to that. I think, I don't know. YouTube does it?
Wow, it's amazing.
YouTube does that. Wow. I gotcha. All right. Well, thank you. Google and their infinite wisdom, which is owns YouTube. Thank you for that. Any other committee of the whole items? Okay. We will now conduct our second public expression with the same rules and outline from our first public expression. Anyone wishing to address the board should go to the podium at this time, please. Sign in, and then we'll let you speak.
I'll sign in after. Make this as quick as possible. I'm a little confused about something that happened earlier in this meeting. So when I'm speaking up here, I'm not even sure that this is an issue. But before there was a position available to apply to be a labor relations specialist, I had expressed my desire to both the superintendent and the board president to be nominated by the board to be a member of the BOCES board. I have kept in touch with, I guess it's the CEO of BOCES, and I called her. I tried to attend the December meeting to only hear it was in the morning, so I didn't get to do that. And then I called to see if I should be attending the January meeting, and I was told no, and that Ms. Katz was not, was planning to stay on the BOCES board, so there would be no Williamsville position open. Now I learned earlier from Ms. Lippman coming up here and speaking that he too seeks that position. I find myself one, finding a need to speak up for myself because I did make my desires known, and two, to also understand that it's a conflict if I do become employed by the district, which I think I have the education and work experience to do that, and I very, very much want. It's kind of silly to work towards getting on a board that I ultimately might have to resign from. But I don't know the answers to either of those questions. So, you know, if next month there's a decision made, then, you know, based on that decision, I can pursue it. But I do think it's unfair that it seems to me only one person is being considered to be on the BOCES board when two people approach both the superintendent and the board president. Anyway, that's my issue. I would much rather have a job. I think my education and work experience is sufficient, but yes, I would also like the option of being able to be on the BOCES board if my application for employment is denied.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to come to the podium?
And I think, too, we mentioned before, the same rules apply for public expression afterwards, after the meeting as in the beginning, but any concerns or questions that you have, the district will be able to address with you, not in the public setting, but, okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Peeger. Are there any correspondence anyone would like to discuss? Mrs. Leatherbarrow.
One really quickly, I did share it with the board, but there was a parent that wrote the board regarding her concern of overuse of technology, and I shared that correspondence. I did follow up with a phone call, and I asked her if she had a specific question that she wanted me to bring, and her question was about digital citizenship. So I did say that I would bring that question, just how we utilize or how we teach digital citizenship here.
Can you elaborate on the
She was
definition?
asking if we teach digital citizenship. And so I wasn't sure, so I forwarded that question and told her I tried to get her some information. Digital citizenship.
Mrs. Leatherborough, would it be okay if we address that question in our yearly presentation to the board on the status of technology in the district in April of 2018?
I think that would be great.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other correspondences? We're only a little off schedule here. Would someone like to make a motion to recess the regular board meeting? Renator, thank you. Is there a second? Mrs. Van Cise, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously. I would like to call the budget work session to order. All board members are present. Dr. Marsloff, would you like to start the 2018-2019 budget development presentation for us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Lemay. I want to share with the Board of Education and our public where we are with our budget planning process for the 2018-19 school budget. Myself and Mr. Matursky will be sharing some information with the board, reviewing sort of a status of where we are. First of all, I want to share with the board our 2017-18 statistics, looking at 9,967 students in 13 schools, 97% graduation rate, 11% of our students receive special education services, 3.7% are English language learners, and we are now up to 16.2% who participate in our free and reduced meal program. We want to make sure through any budget process that we keep Williamsville. It's a special district with a lot of support for students, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom, as well as social emotional supports for children, and we want to make sure we continue to do that at a very high level. So looking at our program continuation as we did last time, our employee salaries are projected to go up by $3.6 million. Our New York State teacher retirement system is still a bit unknown at this juncture. FICA or Social Security is considered to go up $200,000, a $750,000 increase in health insurance costs, and a $117,000 increase in BOCES services. Now, some of that is being driven by increased enrollment in CTE courses at the high school level. For our transportation, we're looking at contractual increases of $250,000. In exceptional education student services, as part of our program continuation, we're looking at an increase for tuition for district students placed in private school settings. Also, 2 FTEs for student needs and enrollment, and these will be on a flexible basis based on programmatic needs that are determined between the spring and the start of next school year. We're looking at adding an elementary 811 self-contained class for students with autism due to enrollment changes, as well as 2 elementary 15-to-1 self-contained classes to meet projected enrollment needs. One of the big issues I just want to make the board aware of when it comes to these potential changes is space. Space is at a premium. It's very difficult to get those classes underway where we would optimally like to, but we are working very hard with our principals to make sure we get the space that's needed. So our required expense increase for program continuation is $5,597,000. In addition, we talked about a number of other items, including 2 instructional coaching positions, enhancing academic intervention services, additional funding for extracurricular programs, the possibility of enhancing languages other than English, new 811 and 1211 classes, a K-12 behavioral specialist, increase the number of middle school counselors, add part-time OT support, the potential to add a microcomputer support technician and software systems trainer, implement changes to enhance the administrative makeup at the elementary and high school levels by adding an assistant, and also the consideration to add an assistant principal at Transit Middle School. District-wide, we want to look at increasing our professional development, supply, and equipment budgets. All these items are very helpful to the district, but they do add up to slightly more than $2 million in additional costs. At this time, based on where we are not giving these strong consideration given our revenue projections, which we'll get to momentarily. So here's our Williamsville Central School District preliminary tax cap calculation, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Matursky at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Martzloff. The tax cap calculation, as the board knows, is required by New York State. The numbers being shown tonight have been provided to the New York State Comptroller's Office. Each year we begin by looking at what our levy was from the prior year, so that is the $120,353,851. The growth factor of 0.2% is really provided to us by the New York State Department of Finance. So it's a very low growth rate this year, results in minimal increase to the levy at this point in time in the calculation. They then look at the increase of our pilots, which are the payment in lieu of taxes, and that $3.2 million is what is budgeted in the 17-18 budget. That amount is then multiplied by the CPI allowed increase, which this year is at the maximum level of 2%, and that provides us a initial subtotal of $126,270,450. The calculation moves forward with the reduction of what you're estimating next year's pilot payments will be, which is the same number. That number is pretty much equal to exactly what our receipts are, and that equals a subtotal of $123,070,450. We do not have any exemptions, whether they be capital expenses or the TRS or ERS exemptions from those retirement systems. So that does create our tax levy limit of that same number. And the levy increase provided is $2,716,599. That is our tax cap number. If we move forward and we see that's 2.26%, and that is, again, the tax cap number for the district. At this point in time, we're looking as a levy increase of slightly under that of $2,697,000, or at 2.24%, roughly $19,600, $19,599 to be exact, as what we can obtain while being under the tax cap number in our tax levy for the 17-18 budget. When we look at state aid, the information provided here is an analysis and reconciliation that starts with the recent governor's aid proposal. That output report showed us having an amount of $45,282,049, and when they compared it on that report to the current year, it resulted in a what appeared to be an increase of $3,293,718. Those dollars do need to be adjusted because they're based upon estimates the state has, largely due to full budgeted numbers and not what will be the projected expenses for the year. In addition to that, they also include, the first item I have as a deduction is the universal pre-K funding. That is not a general fund revenue. It is a revenue in the federal program. So therefore, that has to be reduced. The next item I have as a reduction of $700,000 affects all of our other lines that are, again, the governor is using budgeted numbers, not real expense numbers, which will be projected. So the reductions in everything from special education final expenses to transportation expenses to our regular operating expenses. So that's about a $700,000 reduction. BOCES, the same type of format. The district received a letter from Erie One BOCES, and that letter stated that we needed to consider the fact, again, that we're not looking at budget but at expenses for year-end forecast, and they gave us a reduction of $683,999 over what the governor provided. Then the other items I've listed here are the exact items that are in the governor's budget per New York State aid, and they represent our capital project numbers and buildings, but they're still under construction this summer, and therefore we have not issued the final cost reports. The state looks at it as a timeline. If you issue your project numbers and you have your approval at a certain date, the clock begins running, but it's actually only when you submit your final cost reports when those dollars actually can run into a state aid and become part of your next state aid packet. So those numbers, though I won't go through the schools, but you're very familiar with them from many of the facility updates I've provided. That results in $1,234,256 of reductions, and thereby the total reductions would be $3,160,886. When you take that number and take it from the top number of what was originally in the budget, it does, though, provide us a very sizable state aid increase of $1,538,953, and believing that there will be some additional state aid coming to the district at the actual budget approved by the state. The number now presented is $1,600,000 of additional state aid. So again, looking at that, what does it do for us on the total revenue side? Those two numbers equal $4,297,000. At this time, it does not appear we will have sales tax, pilots, or other increases in the state aid area. So looking at the revenue, our total revenue budget with those items, looking at our current tax levy base, would be $190,432,210 as a revenue side budget, or 2.24%, as I mentioned, on a tax levy increase. And then when you look at the expense side, you're looking at a base budget again where we increase to $191,732,210, a 3% budget increase, and the complete summary shows that right now we're at a $1.3 million deficit, and it does not include some of the items that might still be considered as part of the program support area.
So our next steps, we need to continue to prioritize possible budget reductions and targeted enhancements, assess our mandated cost increases very closely. Any of our retirements for next year from our teaching staff are due to the district by March 1st. So we will look at those as they come in. We also review the 18-19 New York State aid projections and tax cap calculation, which we gave you the preliminary views on this evening. And we should see a little bit of a change to New York State aid in late March, right around April 1st, once the state budget is finalized. So what do we look like on our timeline? Tonight, we've had our budget work session. On March 13th, our next meeting, we will have our preliminary budget presentation, along with our following budget work session on March 27th. Make any final changes and anticipate, excuse me, and anticipate adopting a proposed budget on April 10th at our board meeting. We have our budget hearing and school board candidates night on May 3rd, and then May 15th is our annual budget vote and school board election. So at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions from anyone at this time.
Mrs. Leatherborough, please.
More of a comment than a question. When I was at the dessert forum the other night at Erie One BOCES, at one of the tables, they were talking about budget development, and they handed out a few examples of what different districts show, and they offered good questions that board members might ask. And I think about those questions and I think about the presentation. I don't need to ask the questions that were even recommended because of the thoroughness of this report compared to what I even saw the other night as some examples. So I think it's just a testament to how thorough you are. So I appreciate that because I'm not a numbers person per se, but you make this understandable for me. So I really appreciate that.
Other comments, questions? I share the sentiments of my colleague And thank you for the well put together presentation. I remember coming on 3 years ago, not quite understanding what some of this was and how it was computed. And you do an excellent job of breaking it down in layman's terms to help the community understand it. So thank you. We will now have our public forum for the budget only. Would anyone like to address the board? This is the opportunity for anybody here in the audience can have a two-way dialogue regarding the budget at this time. So if you have any questions about what you just saw or any concerns or comments, please come to the podium at this time. See everybody flocking. Any other last-minute comments or questions from any board members? All right, if not, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the budget work session? Dr. Benader, is there a second? Mrs. Van Cise, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously. Were you opposing? Did I misread that?
It was a late approval.
Would someone like to make a motion to return to the regular board meeting? This is going to be a yo-yo here, folks. Mrs. Beeger, thank you. A second. Dr. Benader, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're back in session. Would someone like to make a motion to meet in executive session to discuss employment matters relating to particular persons, collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, and current litigation? Dr. Benader, thank you. That was almost all in one breath. Is there a second? Mrs. Beeger, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Make a motion to return to public session. Dr. Benader, is there a second? Mrs. Beeger, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Marsloff?
I'd like to make a resolution to place foreign language teacher Bertrand Juliet at Mill Middle School on leave from the Williamsville Central School District pending continued investigation.
Okay, can I have somebody make a motion for that? Okay, Mrs. Leatherbarrow, can somebody second, please? Mrs. Van Cise, all in discussion? Nothing? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? None. Motion carries unanimously. Our next regular board meeting will be on March the 13th, 2018, with public session starting at 7 p.m. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting? Mrs. Leatherbarrow, second. Dr. Benader, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, and happy Valentine's Day.